Hello everyone. Please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for latest update. Today I am going to explain type 1 divert in JDBC. In the previous video, I clearly explained what is JDBC driver and types of divers. So in this video, we are going to see what is type 1 diver and what are the advantages of type 1 diver and what are the disadvantages of type 1 diver, and also I will explain with the architecture, type 1 diver architecture. So first of all, we want to know that what is diver. Diver is the software component. It contains some predefined interface and class has to interact with the database. So now I am going to explain what is type 1 diver. So first of all, we want to see the type 1 diver architecture. So this is the architecture of the type 1 diver. So here if you see the type 1 diver architecture, this is the JDBC application or Java application. So this is the database. So I want to connect this JDBC application with into database to perform its operation. Operation means it's like card operation. Whatever card operation is, like insert the data into the database or retrieve the data from the database or update the data or like delete the data. So what it will be doing, basically it does not directly interact with the database. So that's what it requires some mediator between the JDBC application to the database. The mediator is nothing but a driver software. So here we are discussing about type 1 diver. So this type 1 diver is the mediator between the JDBC application and database. So what it will be happen here, like whenever we are sending the the request from JDBC application, that request will be coming to it will talk with the type 1 diver. So whenever the request came to the type 1 diver, the type 1 diver will convert JDBC method calls into the ODBC function calls. So what is the job of the type 1 diver? It will convert JDBC function call into the ODBC specific calls. So then the ODBC diver will be, what it will be doing, this will convert ODBC function call into the database specific calls. So here what it will be happen, it will not directly with the interact with the database. That's why we required a type 1 diver. The type 1 diver also internally uses ODBC diver to interact with the database. So now we are going to see the one by one points. Generally, Java application does not directly interact with the database. We required a JDBC diver. That means this JDBC application does not directly interact with the database. That's what type 1 diver came into the picture. So the JDBC type 1 diver is also known as the JDBC ODBC bridge diver. So this type 1 diver is nothing but a JDBC ODBC bridge diver. Why it is called like JDBC ODBC bridge diver? It internally uses the type 1 diver internally uses ODBC diver. That's why we can say the type 1 diver is nothing but a JDBC ODBC bridge diver. Next point is, by default JDK provides a type 1 diver. So that means whenever we install the JDK in our system, no need to install the type 1 driver. So this means, so the type 1 driver we cannot, no need to externally install in our system. When we are installing the JDK, by default JDK provides the type 1 driver. The type 1 diver internally uses the JDBC ODBC bridge diver to interact with the database. So this type 1 diver internally uses ODBC diver to interact with the database. The JDBC ODBC diver convert JDBC method call into the JDBC method called into the ODBC function call. So this type 1 diver will doing, it will convert JDBC method call into the ODBC function call. So next to ODBC diver convert ODBC function call into the database specific call. This ODBC diver will convert ODBC function call into the database specific call, because the database does not directly understand the JDBC function call. That's why this type 1 diver will convert the JDBC function call into the JDBC method call into the ODBC function call. This ODBC driver will convert to ODBC function call into the database specific calls. So JDBC driver convert to ODBC function call into the database specific call. This will convert to ODBC function call into the database specific call. So Sun Microsystem provide the JDBC ODBC BG driver. So who will develop this type 1 driver? Sun Microsystem. So the driver name is type 1 driver name is sun.jdbc.odbc.jdbc odbc driver. So now coming to the advantage of type 1 driver. The type 1 driver is a database independent driver. So this is the database independent driver. Independent means it does not depend on any database because it does not directly interact with the database. That's why it is the database independent driver. So it is internally uses ODBC driver to interact with the database. So ODBC driver is the database dependent, but type 1 driver is not a database dependent driver. It is a independent driver. So next we can easily use the type 1 driver. So it is the, if you want to use the only one single application or in the single system, if you want, we can use the type 1 driver. So it cannot be used in the like multi-threaded environment or like browser environment. We cannot use this one. Type 1 driver can be easily connect to the any database. So this type 1 driver will connect with any database like Oracle database or MySQL database or Sybase or DB2, but it internally uses the ODBC driver to connect with the specific database. So now coming to the disadvantage of type 1 driver. So type 1 driver degrade the performance. That means first JDBC application interact with the type 1 driver, then it will be communicate with the JDBC ODBC bridge driver, and it will communicate with the database. So actually if you use the type 1 driver, it will degrade the performance because so first JDBC application directly, it does not directly interact with the database. So it first it is talking with the type 1 driver, and the type 1 driver will talk with the ODBC driver, then ODBC driver will be talking with the database. So it will, some mediator work will be happened here. That's what it will take more time to interact with the database. That's why it is a performance degraded. So performance wise we cannot use the type 1 driver. The type 1 driver is a platform dependent driver. That means only work with the Windows operating system. Basically this type 1 driver, it cannot be work with other operating system, like it does not work in Linux system or Mac system or Ubuntu, like different operating systems are available in market. It is only work in the Windows operating system. It does not work on Linux or Mac operating system. If JDK 1.8 does not support the type 1 driver, so actually this JDBC type 1 driver we can use until JDK 1.7. So 1.8 does not support type 1 driver. This ODBC driver need to be installed on the client machine. Suppose if you want to use the type 1 driver, we need to install the ODBC driver in the client machine. So which are the machine is used the type 1 driver, that machine need to be installed the ODBC driver. So these are the drawbacks of the type 1 driver. So nowadays we are using the type 4 driver only. So I will explain the type 2, type 3 and type 4 in the later videos. So friend, don't forget to subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching this video.